And we're back live here on the Sota Pod YouTube channel. Quickly, Josh, before we run down the central, talk about that last promo that we just showed our viewers here, because Hoppy had the pleasure to go and check it out. Yes, he also was showing off that beautiful glass as well. Talk a
Ultimate
little
Vikings,
bit about Vikings game day.
The ultimate Vikings game day experience. It's the only way to watch a professional football game. It's an interactive experience. You're into it the whole time. You're having fun. And most importantly, we're winning the game. I mean, whenever we get together and there's a Jumbotron outside, it's a party. We got 2 more left this year. One is October 9th. The other is October 30th. Otherwise, you can check our website for indoor Ultimate Vikings game day experiences, which are still awesome, but they're just a little bit more weather appropriate by being inside.
Isha will be there for October 30th.
Oh, it's gonna be wild.
Cannot wait.
Sneak peek. We haven't even talked about this yet, but that'll be the debut of Parlor's food trailer at our tap room. They're going to be basically having a separate, specialized kitchen for our tap room. It's going to be fucking wild. Parlor at the lake.
I'm gonna have to pace myself with the food because I definitely have to get those. What were those dumplings we got, Hoppy? Or what were
we went to Asian Bistro, the greatest Chinese food that you will ever find.
Yeah, that'll be around for a while.
They'll be there. But real quick, because Josh, thank you so much for being with us this whole time. I know you got a jet here in a minute. So real quick, before we bounce through all this, just give us your thoughts in general on the Minnesota Wild so we can let you run.
First off, is that a Minnesota Wild like man bear pig?
It is, yes. That's the best thing my wife's ever made.
Can we please make that the actual logo for the Minnesota Wild? Because I think that's more appropriate. That's
I would
so
cry.
great.
The chat is loving it, by the way.
if that's cool, like we'll make a back channel T-shirt out of that. It'd be a Sota Pod, fucking man bear pig, Minnesota Wild.
You might have to get permission from South Park if you're going to monetize it, but
fair enough. I think they might appreciate it. They would understand.
Just add like a period or spell spell it off or something and you'll be good. Yeah. I'll help you out there.
So the Central here, huh? I think it looks pretty standard based on where we finished at last year. I don't think there's much change. Like St. Louis, I think St. Louis, Dallas, and Nashville, that really could be the only like flippity floppity situation going on here. Ultimately, I do think St. Louis is going to be the 3rd seed overall over Dallas and
their
over
blue
Nashville.
line's a little thin, though, don't you think?
Super weak, right? I don't know. I think they're going to be solid, man. Nick, he thrived on that team, and I think that the team really thrived when they picked him up at the end of the season. And it's a solid blue line. They know their role. They're not going to be too flashy. They're going to be consistent. Bennington knows what's in front of them, and that's going to be a solid core. And yeah, you lose Perron, but I mean, fucking Riley Thomas and Kyrou, those guys need to step up. So I'm banking on them stepping up and maintaining that Blues presence, not necessarily to the point where I think they're going to be thrust into the top 2, because I mean, the top 2 are definitely the Avalanche and the Wild through and through. You can't argue with that.
Can't argue with that. Okay, Josh, do you need to run?
I can stay for a few more.
All right, he can stay for a few more. All right, real quick then, Travis, anything that looks off here?
I was just looking at mine. I think this is really close. I think I was about the same with Josh. I think maybe there's like St. Louis, Dallas, Nashville. I think that could kind of flip-flop a couple different ways, but I did have the Wild 1 over the Avs, but I mean, I do think they're the clear top 2. Yeah, I didn't have much different than what's here.
All right, Z, what makes you upset about this one?
Nothing really. I think I put St. Louis 2 and Minnesota 3. And then
is that an Atlanta Thrashers logo, by the way?
Yes. I like to have fun with these.
All right.
If you haven't noticed with the Mighty Ducks logo as well, and yeah,
trying to get them sued by Disney.
Yeah, nice.
I
like Coyotes though. That's such a dope logo.
Oh, best logo in the league, period. Isha, anything you're upset about?
Not really, to be honest. The chat's a little upset that Dallas is too high.
Oh,
No, fuck that. Dallas
Throw it
is-
up.
I think I
Throw
had
it up.
Nashville and
Why?
See
Dallas.
the comments.
What happened to Dallas that made them a bad team?
That's what I want to know. They have one of the most underrated young players on the come up in Robertson, who should have won the Calder. Hot take.
Best
You're gonna
second.
get canceled.
They got the best second line in the NHL. Fucking Ben, Sagan, Pavelski, filthy.
Isn't
Those
Pavelski
that
on?
is.
Maybe I'm
no,
confused on
that's
what
where
the
they're-
lines
that's
are.
where they- That's where their depth are. That's where their depth charts at right now. I mean, they
Who's
got
on the first line right now then?
Marchment, Rupe, and fucking Guriana.
Marshman's on the first line? Holy fuck.
Yeah.
All right. That's something different.
We'll see.
Bro, Chicago's stupid. Give them your next 2 firsts and a prospect. Fuck it. Let's roll. Oh my God, it's happening. Talking about the Kane trade to Minnesota.
That'd be fun.
That would be fun. All right, I gotta bounce.
Uh,
I'm sorry, guys.
No
Hey.
worries, buddy. Thank you so much for joining. Everyone,
Yeah,
support Back
yeah.
Channel Brewing. Follow
Hey, I'll
them.
be
Drink
back
their
soon.
beer. And we'll see you soon,
Yep.
buddy.
Yep. Love you guys. Sota Pod for the win.
There you go. There you go. Back Channel Brewing for the
Love
win.
Josh.
Let's go.
Love
Let's
Josh.
go. Absolutely love Josh. He's a regular here on the Sota Pod. Came to the Wild, 50% retained at the trade deadline for a 2028 7th round pick. Resigns for 4 years league minimum, or resigns rather for 4 years league
No,
minimum. this
Everyone,
offseason.
public awareness. The hyphen is extremely important.
Yes, please,
in
thank you.
Resign. They're totally different words. They mean the opposite. If you don't put the dash, you don't put the hyphen, it's a different fucking word.
Oh, the meme that Hoppy made, the Star Wars meme, was just absolutely
Oh,
hilarious,
that one
by
that
the
everyone
way.
was abusing? Yeah, that was
That one
fun.
was great. That one, I think it made the rounds on Reddit too. So I mean, props to you.
Hey, there we go.
What else
It's the
do we
only
got?
time I've ever
here?
mattered on Reddit.
We'll get to the comments in one more segment after we start running it down here because we got a few more that came in, but we'll put them on the shelf. We'll get right back to them. We're reading them all. Don't worry, and we'll address them on the stream in a moment. Again, shout out to Back Channel Brewing, shout out 7th Avenue Pizza, Northland Vodka, and to our newest partner, Better Edge. We're all wearing the Waggle swag, and we'll continue to pump the up and show off the amazing gear that
Most of us are. Most of us haven't been
most of
robbed.
us, except for Z. But hey, someone stole it right off his head.
Boston's
so-
a dangerous place.
Yeah, there you go. But our newest partner,
Ruthless.
Better Edge, we got a promo code that you can use. Hoppy, what do our users get from using the promo code when they use Better Edge?
Some kind of sign up bonus. Just go to Better Edge, use the promo code SodaPod, and you'll get something.
There you go. There you go.
Next
New
time
partners,
I'll probably be more brushed up on this.
new partners. So we just want to start pumping them here on the stream, and it's fitting since we're giving our picks. So let us know what your picks are as well. I see some of them are in the chat. Integrity Farms gave his final pick for this division, so we'll dive into that when we get into the next comment segment here on stream. Again, shout out to everyone who's joining us live here, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on YouTube. I advise everyone on Twitter, though, to migrate over to YouTube, like the video, drop in our live chat here, vote in our poll question, and let us know whether it's in the live chat or after this stream. If you like us doing these live streams, maybe we will do a few more this season, but let's dive into it. Travis, you got the Wild at number 1. I know you were just swooning about them in a little bit in the intro here, but the only one out of all of us who have them winning the Central. I mean, it's a possibility, but make your argument here.
My argument is I think the Avalanche are worse. I think the Landeskog injury, I don't know what that's going to mean, but I think that's a big injury. I don't know how long he's going to be out. I don't know if they've said, but rough timeline, but I think him being out is a big miss. I think Kadri being moved is also a big miss. I think with those two, there's a grit aspect, and then I think it's just the Stanley Cup hangover. I think they're just going to have a little bit of a Stanley Cup hangover from the previous year. I just don't think they're going to come in like guns blazing like they did. They kind of had something to prove. I don't know if they're going to play the same way. And I think the Wild are kind of in that boat where they feel like they have something to prove now. I will preface that I mean, Rossi's got to be a stud. if he's not everything everybody's ever hoped he would be, then the Wild aren't there. I don't like to say that the whole season hinges on that guy, but like I kind of think it does. I think he's got to be that guy.
Hey man, top center is everything, and the Wild have been waiting so long to have one who they can really call a bona fide and solidified top center. What's up, Hoppy?
Yeah, but if he's there, I mean, I think the Wild.
Pointing to Addison. So two players.
Yeah, I was just pointing to the Addison jersey, saying that he and Boldy alone are going to fix the power play, and it's going to make a huge difference for the team. I don't know about passing the Avalanche, because although I do agree that they've taken a step back, like obviously losing Kadri is huge. This team still has Nathan McKinnon, who is an absolute lunatic. He will accept nothing below greatness. And I don't know how you argue that this team doesn't have the best blue line in the NHL. It's absolutely insane, the talent that they have on defense. Their goaltending's a little suspect, but I mean, let's be real. Did Kemper really do shit for them en route to winning the Stanley Cup? I don't think so. They got some okay young players that have a chance to prove themselves. Isha, you've got one of your island boys. I obviously am very excited to see Myers from the Gophers have a chance to play this year. I don't think they'll be nearly as good as last year, but I think they've got enough firepower to make it through and still be the best team in the division.
Yeah, shout out to Alex Newhook, by the way.
Hey-yo.
From the other island out east, but developed on Vancouver Island. So there you go.
There you go.
Got to mention Vancouver Island while I still can.
I got to lead in, Isha, with you being the biggest Nashville Predators crusher, and you have them the lowest in your rankings. Why?
I mean, I guess that's a first day since we've been doing these rankings here on the Sota Pod. I don't know. They haven't gotten much better. They've been kind of that team that's been fringe playoff since they made their run and lost against the Pittsburgh Penguins, which, by the way, Hoppy, you made a futures bet on that one, didn't you?
Which one now?
It was a Pittsburgh and Nashville. I made that was the first big futures bet.
In the Stanley Cup? Oh.
Yeah, that I made, and it was on Nashville, and I had incredible odds, and I was absolutely gutted, which is why I'm a little salty towards the Penguins now for life. But anyways, I just don't think that they address the roster enough to compete with the teams as we see here in the division. I think Winnipeg is still the real deal. I think Dallas is still a solid team. I think the Blues showed that, and I was critical of the Blues last year, that they're still damn good. And the Wild, honestly, I'm rolling the dice on them, and I'm thinking that they're going to be just as competitive as they showed they could be last year. For most of the season, they were 2-3. They were up there in the division, at least making a name for themselves. Can Fleury, can he be that guy? I know on the Sota Pod podcast, I'm less than complimentary towards him compared to the rest of the Minnesota Wild market, but I still think that the Wild are good enough to be up there, and that Nashville. It's not that they're a bad team. You know, I have them above the bad teams in this division, but I just think the Stars are better. I think Winnipeg's better, and as much as Wild fans will hate for me to say, I think the Blues are better.
How can you not like an offseason where you add Ryan McDonough for nothing and add Nino Niederreiter for nothing?
I mean, the McDonough's going to help them, but they lost Ellis potentially forever.
They lost Ellis before last season, so I don't see why that's relevant.
That's totally right.
And guess what? The Flyers gave up assets for him, and they lost him forever too. So that sounds even dumber.
Yeah, that's crazy, Chuck Fletcher. But I don't know. I'm just not as confident as them, man. I'm more confident based on what. Dallas
you don't think Saros is good anymore, do you?
Saros is the best part and the only reason to tune into the team. But I'm strangely still confident with Winnipeg, and the Blues surprised me last year. I think they still got it this year.
Okay, Travis, any rankings you see here that piss you off? Like anyone you want to call out?
I don't know. The Blues over the Wild, Z. I don't know what that's. I don't know. How do we get there? Outside of that, they have our number in the playoffs. How do we get there?
Yeah, we're talking regular season here, not playoffs. If we're going playoffs, I'm putting the Wild at like 6.
You're throwing it to me now?
Yeah, give it.
Oh, okay. I mean, I just look at the Blues, and again, it's the same thing I said with like the Oilers and the Flames. I just think it's more established, and there's more kind of a solidified idea of what that roster looks like. For me, like I do think there's a world where the Wild finish second and challenge for first in the division because the Colorado didn't get that much better, but or they didn't really get better. But I look at the Blues, and I love that top six. Kyrou and Thomas both had their breakout seasons last year. And for me, I think the Wild absolutely have enough to say that they could be better. For me, it's just they have too many ifs and not enough certainty for me. Like you're banking on Rossi kind of fitting in right away, which I think he absolutely can. You're doing the same thing with Addison. You're doing the same thing with Fleury with a full season. And you're saying that he's definitely not going to fall off a cliff. So I just, for me, I think I have more certainty in what the Blues have. So I kind of just went with that, but it's like neck and neck. It's not like, I wouldn't say that they're clearly above Minnesota. I mean, plus, like, if you want to look at the history of how they've been playing against each other last like 3 years, St. Louis has absolutely slaughtered the Wild. Like, I think the Wild may have won 2 or 3 games the last 3 years against St. Louis. And like they get shit pumped too. So,
but you don't have to win those games to be higher in the standings.
Right. So that's, I mean, like, again, I'm just saying there's a little more certainty with what the Blues have. I love Buchnevich. I love Thomas. I love Kyrou. And O'Reilly's still O'Reilly. The questions will be on that back end. Can Krug kind of bounce back? Can Nick Leddy, I guess, be as good as everyone in here says he is? I don't think so, but
wow, you wait until Josh leaves to say that, coward.
Well, like everyone was like pumping Nick Leddy's tires, and I was like, "What the fuck are we talking about?"
I thought he looked pretty good in the playoffs.
He was on one leg. He didn't look good in the playoffs. The fucking Wild looked terrible. The Wild were so bad. Well, they let him walk in all by himself, and then he scored from 77 feet away. So
I'm not talking about his goal. Jesus.
Well, like, what did he do?
No, I thought he did a pretty good job playing a shutdown role in that series. Obviously, we didn't do enough.
I don't think there was much to shut down. I don't think there was much on Minnesota to shut down.
Sure, but you can't blame him for not having much to play against.
Yes, we looked fine because no one did shit for Minnesota.
Okay,
but I don't attribute that to Nick Leddy. I don't feel like Nick Leddy really shut down Minnesota. I think they just suck.
Fair. And I'm the lowest on the Blues, so I'll chime in because I'll be honest. Like, come playoff time, they're probably my number 2 team here if they make the playoffs. But regular season, this is a team that last year none of us thought very highly of. Like, no one expected the Blues to be a top 3 team by and large in our rankings, and this is a team that lost a little bit of their depth. They lost a couple of their forwards. I think that losing Husso is a big deal for this team because I think Binnington, he's a gamer. He can play in the playoffs. I don't think he can carry the load for the whole regular season. Guy's a fucking lunatic. He's a nut job. He's going to fight half the teams he plays. I'm worried about what that does. I'm worried about getting the big paydays for Thomas and Kyrou. And I think a lot of their players are big-time playoff gamers that in the regular season, it's really hard to maintain that level of play for an 82-game season. Could they easily embarrass me here? Abso-fucking-lutely. But they're the ones that I'm the least confident in of that middle group because I honestly think it goes from the Wild through the Blues in my rankings. Wild, Stars, Predators, Jets, and Blues, they could finish in any order in my mind. I think that Chicago and Arizona suck.
The Dallas love. Why? What is going on?
Dude, I obviously love Ottinger. I'm a little worried about what the coach might do to him, but I think that their forward group, their first line is a top 4 or 5 first line in the league when things are clicking. I think they've got one of the best defensemen in the league in Heiskanen. I think their blue line by and large isn't that bad. I think they're pretty decent, and I don't think that losing Klingberg is that big of a deal except for the hit on the power play, which I think Heiskanen can fill. I just believe in the group that they had last year. I don't know why people were so down on them. And I do think that, like, outside of maybe 1 or 2 seasons, DeBoer makes the playoffs. DeBoer does not miss the playoffs. He's a good coach. He's a fucking weird dude, and he definitely has some strange approaches. But I think some of the things that he does fit in pretty well with the skill sets that he has here.
But so I mean, you look at, I think DeBoer is a good coach too, but like, what teams did he take to the playoffs that you're like, yeah, there's no fucking way? Vegas was fucking unbelievable when he took over. Like San Jose was still unbelievable when he took over.
I don't think that
Like,
Devils team was unbelievable.
what was that, fucking 10 years ago?
Do you really think the San Jose team was unbelievable?
Yes, they absolutely were. They fell out. Everyone's like now like clouded with how bad they've been the last 2 years. That team was fucking
so
unreal.
I'm not saying they weren't a good team. I'm just saying I don't think that they were the best team in the West.
Okay, sure, but they were definitely top 3, which like at that point, any coach can take a team to a fucking Stanley Cup if you're a top 3 team. I think bounce and go. Like, I don't think DeBoer makes a big difference. And like, I just don't believe in Dallas. I think they have one line. Sagan and Ben both are pretty much washed at this point.
Ben for sure. I think Sagan can do okay.
I think he can do okay, but he's not $9.5 million Tyler Sagan. I'm
not saying that their payment is appropriate.
But I just don't like, even last year he was a little bit better and he really didn't do anything. Like I think he scored like 17 goals or something, but they didn't. I mean, like, he didn't really do anything in the playoffs. It's literally Hintz. It's what's his face?
Oh, their first line is sick. I agree. Like that group is very, very good. But
I just don't see anyone even a little bit close. Like a little bit close.
I think guys like Marchment, Gurianov.
I think Marchment benefited from playing in Florida.
Like I think they're all decent middle six guys.
I think Marchment was really good last year playing in Florida, where he pretty much was just fed tap-ins that he could beat people up. So we'll see that. We'll see what line he plays on in Dallas, I guess, and who his line mates are. But like, I don't see him repeating that. Like, I don't think that contract's good at all. That's a bad contract.
I don't think the contract's good. I think the player's good.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a good player. I just don't see him being a massive difference maker for Dallas. Like, and I think Nashville got better with Niederreiter and McDonough, and I think they have the best goaltender in the division.
That's the one that worries me. I'm being honest. Like, I think Nashville could be better than I have them, and like, I have them as a playoff team right now. I think they could easily finish the number 2 team in the division with what they have. And Isha is the one that crushes on them.
Saros will win in the division.
Isha, why do you think that the Coyotes are going to be better than the Blackhawks?
That one honestly was just...
That's crazy. I'll be honest. That's nuts.
They literally just signed the worst goalie in the league.
They might be the worst team on the planet.
I think that will be their only win, like their only little win at the end of the season. The organization goes, well, we at least were better than the team that everybody hates. And that's our only little storyline. That's it.
I think the weird thing here is that like the top 3 teams from last year, the Avalanche, the Wild, and the Blues, on paper have gotten worse in the offseason. You look at teams like the Jets, who really haven't changed much, but they've got a new coach, so who knows what happens there. Predators have gotten better. Stars, arguably, probably got a little worse. Like, this is a weird division this year where any of these teams can kind of funnel anywhere.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, even though I think the Wild can be the top team, they do. I mean, they have a lot of ifs. I mean, I think Z said it. They have maybe the most ifs of some of these teams on this list.
A lot of ifs.
They just have, I think, it's a gambling scenario. I think they have the highest upside. So it's just can they hit it? That's going to be the question.
Yeah, and like you said, like they have probably the most ifs that you're banking on, but I feel pretty comfortable betting on a lot of those ifs, but it's still like the only reason I put St. Louis there is I've seen it from them, you know what I'm saying? Like we're hoping and assuming Rossi can do it. I think he can.
Yeah.
I think the kid's fucking unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I think Addison can do it. And I think
say more nice things about Addison, please.
Yeah, he's a stud. I would like they're all comfortable bets. They're just still ifs, so that's the only reason I put them 3.
My biggest if is like, what do we think Fleury can carry the load?
I think that defense can mitigate a lot of problems still. I still like that defense a lot.
How much do you attribute the struggles last year with picking him up at the end of the year and the team not knowing how to play in front of him?
I mean, I think it's the first time in how long has he been playing? Fucking 15 years. The first time he's ever changed teams mid-season. He went from one of the worst teams on the planet to going to Minnesota. There's a lot of adjustment there, obviously. And I
Right.
mean, again, that team like fell apart on him on numerous occasions, especially like trying to kill penalties was an absolute problem. And
Well,
then
because
they're
he's
like
just
giving up
fundamentally
shorthanded
different than Talbot,
chances.
right?
Yeah,
Well, that was the thing. That was the
yeah.
thing. When he like when some of the rebounds would go off, that's his game as well. So like Hoppy said, fundamentally different, and the players did not react well at times. Like they wouldn't even go after some of the pucks, and like it was just such a mess at times where the defense broke down.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's an adjustment for sure for the team and vice versa. That was not a. You could see the discord there, like right out the gate. There was some miscommunication for sure.
I have one question, Isha.
Yo,
You said Winnipeg still got it. At one point did they have it? Because they've never had it. They had it in
When they
2018.
lost to the startup Vegas Golden Knights, that's when they had
They've
it.
literally been absolutely heinous since then. That team fucking stinks.
I think their top 6 is filthy, and I think they have a top 5-ish goaltender.
I think they're still hard to play against, and yes, okay, maybe you're right. They did lose it, but I think they've still
They
been
had
knocked.
it in 2018.
I feel
They
like they haven't given it all up. Okay, since their defense was shredded and they've been trying to get back to that point, they've still been relatively hard to play against. They still kind of knocked on the
Well, what
door,
does
which a
that
lot
mean?
of people haven't.
What do you mean though? They're still hard to play against. They lose every fucking game.
Relatively hard to play against.
How are
I
you
feel
hard
like
to play
last year
against if
there was a
fucking
lot of
lose all the
upsets.
time?
There's a lot of upset games that we watched too, where we thought that Winnipeg would be absolutely trounced, and they were able to still put up a pretty good fight. They're still mid pack of this division, and I think they're gonna honestly surprise us a little bit this year with some of the changes, especially the coaching change.
Blake Wheeler
What
would
changed?
physically dominate.
They just
Isha.
took the
That's why.
captaincy away from Blake Wheeler, the one guy that got people that was like he signed there. He was the only one that did a long-term deal there, and he didn't leave, and that's when people started signing there.
No, dude,
And they
Dubois,
took the
he's gonna stay,
captaincy
right?
away. He wants out. He's already literally said, "I want to leave."
I'm fucking kidding.
Honestly, I'm looking at my picks right now. The only one that I might be really, really wrong on is Nashville. I will say right now, Z, let's revisit this at the end. I think Winnipeg, they finished higher than Nashville. I think, and I've been high on Nashville for a while. I just do not see it. I do not see it. Sure,
The
maybe
one year they
defensively-
get better, you're like, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out. And the Stars, I mean, I don't think they're as bad as you're making them out to be either. But yeah, I think Winnipeg surprises both of them in how they finish in the division.
All right,
I
before we
didn't
throw
think
some
so at
comments up here, Travis, do you have any who's the one team that you worry about that could surprise and be the number one team in this division outside of the Avalanche and the Wild for you?
Nashville. I would worry about Nashville. I think they made some good additions, and I think defensively, I think that's where a surprise starts. Is you got to be tough to play against, tough to score goals against. I think they've made some improvements there. I wouldn't be surprised to see them making some noise.
Z, did you have any last thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the only surprise could possibly be Nashville. I don't think it happens, but it's possible, I'd say. But other than that, I think it's another division where that top is pretty set. With Nashville being the only team that could possibly surprise and overtake any of those top three teams. But I still don't see it really happening.
Unlike the Atlantic, where it could just be a crapshoot as far as how the order ends, this one might be a little bit more solidified, especially after we see the start of the season and how it plays out. All right, let's get back to the comments here. As people have been commenting quite a bit since we started this segment, and I absolutely love it.
Hey, Travis, shout out Castle Danger, because I know last time you came on, this is what you were repping. Maple Marzen, they just released in cans, and it's one of my favorite beers they've done.
I have not seen that one.
Get it. Or if you like that style of beer, obviously.
I do, yeah, we'll get it.
Integrity Farm, he's given us his final prediction as well for the Central Division. Minnesota number 1, Colorado 2.
Oh, fuck. He's with Isha. He's got Arizona over Chicago, which I don't
There
get.
we go. Here's a good question. Do we think that Dallas signs Robertson by opening night?
That's a big caveat for me. If he's not with the team opening night, I'm just catapulting the Stars down to 6.
Yeah, he's an absolute stud. Less Sagan, more Ben. Appreciate it, friendly neighborhood Wild fan. Hey, I asked as we were talking there, I asked the stream if they liked, or I asked the chat rather if they liked these streams, and they said, YouTube baby, keep them coming. So we'll do more of these for you guys as well. Is Addison sticking with 59? Seems like a shitty choice.
You shut your dirty mouth, Sean. It's a great choice. I actually hope he changes his number, because then like the people that rock around with his like number 2 jersey, I'll have the OG jersey, and that's how you can tell who got in early versus who just jumped on as soon as he was good. So I don't mind that, but 59 is such a baller number. I love it. Jake Gensel, shout out.
Rusty as fuck. What's going on, buddy? Doer, baby.
Scored a shorty.
Minnesota ran hot last year and had a surprisingly large percentage of their goals with the goalie pulled. Doesn't seem sustainable, and they lost a 70 to 80 point player. Wild are number 3 in Sean's opinion. Agreeing with Z here. Anyone want to rebuttal?
Again, I think Wild could go as low as 5 or 6, just depending on how things shake out.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that either.
Friendly neighborhood Wild fan again. Shout out to you again. We appreciate you joining us throughout this entire stream. What do you guys think Boldy's next contract looks like? Does Guerin extend him mid-season? Does he get a bridge deal? 8x8? Just curious what you guys' thoughts are on this. Because I know he won't get 8, just throwing it out there as an example. Z, what do you think?
I mean, I think they have to do a bridge deal. Just
Agreed.
Because they've also talked about how the salary cap's going to jump like 10 million in the next couple of years. So
Right.
I think you just buy time for the cap to go up, give them that bridge deal 3 by, I don't know, whatever. But I think you just buy time for, first of all, those Suter and Parise cap hits to go away. Because, I mean, they're bad for 3 this year and then 2 more years. And then it's just like $1.5 million or something each, or total, for a couple of years. So I think you just bridge until that cap's projected to go up, and then you can kind of give him the bag. Plus, give him another couple of years to prove that he's, a guy that can put up a point per game, which I think he absolutely can, because he's unbelievable. But I mean, I think it's a bridge deal, and they try to get the AAV as low as possible. But at the same time, you want that kid to get paid, because you want him to know that you think he should get paid. So.
Yeah, that they value him.
I'll be curious what the number is, though.
Well, Z, I'm curious too, because you've watched way more of Boldy than any of us, because you watched him with the Iowa Wild, you watched him in college. Like, what do you think the future is for Boldy with this team? Like, is he here to drive a second scoring line, or is he a guy that you eventually see playing with Kaprizov?
He definitely could play with Kaprizov. I think he can also drive play himself too. Everyone, the big knock on him for whatever reason, when people, whether it was his draft year or the year after, was like the skating thing. But he's one of those players that doesn't really need to be the fastest kid on earth to make the plays that he makes. And not only that, he's like excellent defensively. So I think if he hits his ceiling, you're looking at a kid that profiles like peak Mark Stone. So whether that's on your first or second line doesn't really, it kind of depends how the rest of the prospects shake out, I think. But I think if he's your guy on that first line that you're looking at for points, I think he's like that projects as like a point per game type player. So but again, he's got the very high defensive impact as well. I think the kid's fucking unbelievable. Like, he's so fucking good. And he's sturdy, he can play. He gets to those hard areas too. He kind of just gives you a little bit of everything. But I think that's what you're looking at. If he does hit his full potential, you're looking at peak Mark Stone, which is never a bad thing.
Z, does he have to play with somebody who has speed? I agree he doesn't need it personally himself, but was playing with Fiala a huge benefit to him because he could push the pace a little, or do you think that's not relevant necessarily?
I mean, I think that benefits like any line. Like, I don't think it was necessarily a thing where like that's why Matt Boldy did what he did last season. I think again that probably benefits any line whatsoever. But you look at down in the AHL, he was playing with Marco Rossi, who was also not necessarily some like burner too, and they literally had the puck the whole time that they were on the ice. And like that power play when it was those two out there, it was a joke. Like they were fucking unbelievable.
Boldy's puck control is unbelievable.
Yeah. I think it's again like when he's on the ice, especially with Marco Rossi too, is also like an elite defensive forward, at least in the junior ranks, and he was very good in the AHL defensively too. But like I think when they're out there, you look at the possession rates, and that team has the puck the entire time that they're on the ice, and really you're not getting anything through the neutral zone. You're not getting anything defensively, or like the other team's not getting anything offensively. You're stopping most of the fucking play in your own defensive zone. Those two are out there. So I think it would benefit because it gives you another element, but it's not necessarily like a requirement for him to be an impactful forward, like having some guy that can burn. Because again, him and Marco Rossi together, it's so fun to watch, and they just dominate teams.
Who's the ideal line mate for those two?
That's a good question. I think Kaprizov could be so fun.
Okay, in the current environment, though, where the first line's not getting touched, supposedly, like who do you think, if they're the third line, quote unquote, who should play with them?
I want to see them give those two and then Tyson Jost. I want to see that line get a shot, dude.
Love it. Love it.
That as well.
I think this
So
whole
good.
podcast is for it.
That's three players who not only can give you offensive impact, but all three of them can kill penalties. They're very good defensively. And that's so much skill on one line too. Like I think you just get all three zones. You get impacts in all three zones with those three on the ice, and they're just like so fun to watch when they're going.